Picture this. You're one of the world's most wanted men with a target on your back. When a famous philosopher asks if you're afraid to die, that's exactly what happened to Che Guevara in 1964. His answer became the most quoted response about courage in revolutionary history. Havana, March 1964. The Cuban Revolution has succeeded, but it's not yet fully established. Every day brings new threats, new enemies, new risks. Che Guevara is no longer just Cuba's industry minister. He's one of the world's most recognized revolutionaries. He's also one of the most wanted men. His name comes up daily in CIA files. American companies are plotting assassination attempts against him. Former Batista supporters in Cuba target him. Che knows he lives face to face with death every day. Today there's a special guest in Che's office, Jean-Paul Sartre, the famous French philosopher, writer, journalist, one of the world's most influential intellectuals. He's come to Cuba to study the revolution, to talk with Che. Sartre is 59 years old, experienced, thoughtful. In his life, he's spoken with dozens of leaders, thinkers, artists, but Che is different, young, idealistic, living a very dangerous life. The office is simply furnished. Che has no need for luxury. On his desk are Cuba's industrial plans, factory reports, worker statistics. On the wall are not photos of Che, but photos of Cuban workers. Comandante Guevara, says Sartre, it's a great honor to speak with you. For me as well, Monsieur Sartre. I read your writings. What are your thoughts on existentialism? Che smiles. Philosophy is interesting, but what good is it in practice? I pursue living, not existence. This answer impresses Sartre. This man values practice more than theory. They talk for 2 hours about revolution, about justice, about human nature. Sartre asks questions, Che answers, but the philosopher has another question on his mind. Sartre studies Che, a young man of 36, but there's fatigue in his eyes, great responsibility on his shoulders, and he's aware he could die at any moment. Comandante, says Sartre, may I ask you a personal question? Of course. You live a very dangerous life. You have many enemies. The CIA has targeted you. You're constantly under threat. Yes, that's true. Sartre pauses, takes a deep breath. The question he wants to ask is very personal. Comandante, do you fear death? The office falls into silence. Che looks out the window at Havana's view. Children play in the street. People go about their daily lives. There's a return to normalcy for them, but not for Che. Sartre waits. This question isn't easy. Fear of death is the most human emotion. Even the strongest people fear death. Che turns, looks into Sartre's eyes, and the 4 words he speaks at that moment will change not only Sartre, but world history. No, I don't fear death. Sartre is surprised. How do you not fear it? You're human too. Che approaches, sits across from him. Monsieur Sartre, I don't fear death because I've already died. What do you mean? I mean I died as Ernesto Guevara. I was born as Che Guevara, and Che Guevara is immortal. Sartre tries to understand. Immortal, yes, because Che Guevara isn't a person. He's an idea. Ideas don't die. But if you die, Che smiles. I will die, but Che won't die. Che lives wherever there's injustice. He stands with every exploited worker. He breathes in every mother fighting for her children. Sartre is mesmerized. This man has solved the secret of immortality. But haven't you ever been afraid? Of course I was afraid. I was afraid in the first battles. But then I understood that what I feared wasn't death. It was failure. How so? If I die, it doesn't matter. But if the revolution fails, that's the real death. Sartre takes notes. He must write these answers, share them with the world. Comandante, how do you see yourself? Here's where Che's real philosophy will emerge in this question. Che stands up, goes to the window. Monsieur Sartre, I see myself as a bridge. A bridge, yes, bridges are temporary structures. They carry people from one shore to another. Then sometimes they're torn down. But the bridge's purpose isn't to be permanent, it's to provide passage. Sartre is filled with admiration. You also provide passage. Yes, I'm a bridge from the old world to the new world. I carry people from injustice to justice, from exploitation to freedom. After crossing this bridge, I might not be necessary. Doesn't this frighten you? No, because the real fear is leaving the bridge half built, leaving people stranded. Sartre understands this man doesn't fear death because he defines death differently. Comandante, what is death to you? Death is giving up the struggle, accepting injustice, seeing poverty as normal. As long as I'm alive and fighting, I haven't died. What if you're killed? My body dies, but my spirit continues. Every revolutionary carries my spirit. Sartre asks his final question, who is Che Guevara? Che pauses, thinks, then gives the answer that will go down in history. Che Guevara is the rebellion inside every person ready to die. This answer deeply affects Sartre. This man hasn't made peace with death. He's turned death into a tool. When the conversation ends, Sartre extends his hand. Comandante, I'm very happy to have met you. Me too, Monsieur Sartre. One last question. What message do you want to give to future generations? Che thinks for a second, then gives his answer. I tell them, if there's injustice, those who remain silent are guilty. If there's poverty, those who just watch are guilty. If there's exploitation, those who accept it are guilty. There's no perfect world, but there is perfect struggle. Sartre leaves but can't forget this conversation. When he returns to Paris, he writes an article in L'Automne magazine, a conversation with Che Guevara on death. In the article he writes, Che Guevara doesn't fear death because he's already died and been reborn. He's no longer a human, he's an idea, and ideas cannot be killed. This article is read throughout Europe. Young people, intellectual, revolutionaries memorize Che's words. I don't fear death because I've already died and been born as an idea. These words become a slogan in the 1968 Paris uprising. American protesters used them during the Vietnam War. They become a mantra in revolutionary movements throughout Latin America. When Che died in Bolivia in 1967, Sartre wrote, Che Guevara died, but Che Guevara didn't die, because he had already told me in 1964, I will live as an idea. Now that idea lives throughout the world. 50 years later, in 2014, Sartre's notes are found. The complete text of his conversation with Che emerges. There's this note, Che Guevara is the most striking person I've ever encountered. I've never seen anyone else so at peace with death, who has made life so meaningful. He discovered immortality while living it. So I ask you, what are you ready to die for? For which values, which principles would you risk your life? Maybe fighting injustice, maybe protecting the environment, maybe children's future, maybe human rights. Che Guevara showed Sartre in 1964, not fearing death doesn't mean ignoring death. It means living for something more valuable than death. What are you living for? And how much risk are you prepared to take for these values? Because real immortality isn't living biologically forever. It's having the ideas you live for continue to live after you're gone. Che Guevara died in 1967, but the idea of Che Guevara still lives, because injustice still exists, exploitation still exists, struggle is still necessary, and in every person who encounters injustice, Che's spirit comes alive. I don't fear death, because I am an idea and ideas don't die. What's your forward philosophy? I am an idea, I don't die.